Viewers, the American strike on Iran has exposed both Trump and Pakistan. We will talk about Trump's delusion and duplicity some other day. Let's focus on how Pakistan betrayed Iran for a few dollars or something else. Operation Midnight Hammer has laid bare the hollow core of Pakistan's so-called solidarity with the Global Ummah, exposing a nation that thrives on crocodile tears and strategic duplicity. Pakistan's condemnation of the American strikes, issued with the predictable flourish of a press release, rings as empty as a drum in a deserted bazaar. It's a token gesture, viewers, a scripted performance that fools no one, not the Iranians, not the Muslim world, and certainly not the global community that has long grown weary of Islamabad's double game. Just days before the US bombs fell on Iran, Pakistan's army chief, their Field Marshal Asimmunir, was breaking bread with Trump at the White House, basking in the glow of a diplomatic coup. Pakistan even had the audacity to nominate Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize, citing his role in the de-escalating India-Pakistan tensions. Yet, 24 hours later, a nation Pakistan calls a brotherly neighbor, Islamabad, issues a statement decrying the US action as a gross violation of international law. The whiplash, viewers, is dizzying, but it's a classic case of Pakistan being Pakistan, a nation that shakes hands with one ally while slipping a dagger into another. The hypocrisy is not lost on the Pakistani people also, because if you see the pictures from the streets, thousands marched against the US and Israeli strikes on Iran. Their fury directed not just against foreign powers, but at their own leadership. Let's quickly open this up. Major Gaurav Arya, Brahma Chellaney, RSN Singh, Tushar stays on. Major Arya, we've been discussing about Pakistan, especially with you over the last 2 days. This is another case of their fake tears.
Absolutely. You see, this is what Pakistan has done in the past. I would just like to quote Abdul Salam Zaif, who was Taliban's ambassador to Pakistan. In his book, My Life with the Taliban, he writes about the Pakistan security establishment. I quote, "They have 2 tongues in one mouth and 2 faces on one head, so they can speak everybody's language. They use everybody, deceive everybody." This is Abdul Salam Zaif, Taliban's ambassador to Pakistan, who was arrested by Pakistanis and handed over to the Americans. So they arrested a serving ambassador of a third country. So this is what Pakistan has done. No surprises. What many Pakistani commentators have come out and said that, you know, we were trying to rub the Indians' faces in this. That listen, our army chief was called, and where was your prime minister, and where was your army chief? We were trying to do it, but it spectacularly backfired because Trump is the best of the deceivers. He has deceived everybody. And the Pakistanis thought that they could manage Trump. Trump has deceived them also. And today they find it difficult to explain to the Pakistani street why their airspace was used. Not directly in the raid. I'm not saying that the B-2s came through Pakistani airspace. But there were reconnaissance aircrafts that were used to map targets in Iran and all of that. It is there in mainstream media that Pakistan was at least complicit. And that is why this gentleman was invited for dinner to the White House. And yes, they have been caught, you know, actually betraying the Muslim Ummah. That is what they have been accused of today by Pakistanis themselves.
Brahma Chellaney, what would you tell Pakistani apologists?
It's been long-standing Pakistani policy, run with the hare and hunt with the hounds. That policy is clearly reflected in asimmunir nominating Trump. Nobody invited him to submit a nomination. The Norwegian committee that actually awards the Nobel Peace Prize invited me 2 months ago to submit a nomination for the Nobel Peace Prize. But Asimmunir is submitting a nomination, at least on social media X, on his own, without an invitation. But the fact is this, that everybody knows that the Nobel Peace Prize has become increasingly controversial. It is not given for peace. It's actually given for scuttling peace, for waging war. Look at the list of recipients over the years who have received the Nobel Peace Prize. Henry Kissinger, who masterminded the carpet bombing of Laos and Cambodia. Before him, Theodore Roosevelt, the champion of big stick diplomacy. Or or even Barack Obama, a serial interventionist who launched or expanded wars from Somalia and Yemen to Iraq and Syria, and his toppling of Libya's Gaddafi turned Libya into a failed state. Even Libya remains a failed state even today. So, given that background, Asimmunir thought that actually he can get away with nominating Trump. Of course, nobody takes that will take such a nomination seriously. But it's Pakistan's policy, to try and please both sides. And of course, it doesn't cost Pakistan anything.
Right.
If the Pakistani PM criticizes the U.S. attack on Iran, because the most powerful figure in Pakistan, as everybody knows, is the army chief, and the army chief clearly is in the American pocket.
RSN Singh, what happened to the Global Ummah?
Yes, and what has happened to the ideological country like Pakistan? Jinnah's Pakistan, Iqbal's Pakistan, Munir's Pakistan, ideological. He also spoke about separate ideology and civilization. What has happened? So it is if you read the history of Pakistan, Islam has been used to rule over the masses. And for physical, material and other gains, it is, the elite and the military, they look up to America. This is the reality. Didn't someone, coin, that Allah, America and AK-47? This is the most appropriate coinage, describing, Pakistan. It explains the complex interplay of geopolitics and Pakistan's strategic positions, its internal political dynamics and religious extremism. This is how it has been used. Why go far? In case of Uyghur Muslims, I mean, did they give up the the cause of Ummah as far as Uyghur Muslims are concerned in getting into that strategic embrace with China? And why? This is what happens when an army chief, he speaks over his shoulders. He opened his mouth, recommending a Nobel Prize, and Shahbaz Sharif makes a different statement as far as Iran is concerned. And even with the OIC meet which took place in Istanbul, I saw there was no Ummah. There was absolutely no Ummah. Just they were mouthing niceties about sovereignty and this and that. But 16 countries in the region, nobody has come.
No, you're right. This episode actually shatters the myth of Pakistan as a steadfast champion of the Ummah. Tushar Gupta, I am not surprised, but what would you tell the ecosystem that has blind faith in Pakistan?
Well, Pakistan is famous for selling itself to the highest bidder. It will be in bed with any country that pays it some dollars. That's what Pakistan is. I don't want to use some very strong words there, but I think the sentiment comes across very clearly. Pranesh, I was digging into some history, and back in the 80s, early 80s, late 70s, when the Iranian revolution occurred, when the Ayatollah took over, Pakistan was actually one of the first countries to acknowledge the authority of the Ayatollah and the dismissal of the Shah of Iran. And they wanted to be a part of that Muslim Brotherhood. They wanted to show that they were aligned with Iran and the changing Arab world. And look at what has happened today.
Right.
They have just sold themselves out to the Americans in a bid to contain the Iranians. Now, where does Pakistan stand here? And the speaker before me pointed out very correctly, the Pakistanis also aligned themselves with the Chinese. Why? Because money is thrown on them. And money is thrown on them, so they forget the entire persecution of Muslims that goes on in China. Similarly, even if you look at the Middle East, people keep talking about global Ummah, but what is Saudi and Iran doing? You leave them on their own and there the Shia-Sunni divide comes into play and suddenly the entire Ummah goes away. So it's very selective, convenience-based, and Pakistan has mastered that art. Simply sell yourself out to the highest bidder day after day, evening after evening.
Sell is not quite the right word. Major Arya has been correcting me every time I use the word sell. He says Pakistanis can only be hired. वो बेचते नहीं है, वो रेंट पे जाते, मेजर आ रहे
रेंट पे जाते हैं पाकिस्तानीज, वो आप उनको खरीद नहीं सकते, बट whoever pays the money for a specific period of time, the Pakistani state can be rented.
Yeah, Tushar.
No, again, I agree with Major Gaurav Arya, and it's obviously rent, and I have a stronger word for it, but I think the sentiment is quite clear. That is what Pakistan is. P for Pakistan and P for the word one can imagine.
Okay, Major Arya, you know, for the other countries who've so far been in any doubt that, look, Pakistan is our ideological brother, etc., etc., will that change, sir? Will something happen? Will there be consequences of this, you know, this of Munir being a double agent?
No, see, Pakistan has got nothing to do with any ideology. Forget about Islam, any ideology for that matter. Their only ideology is narrow self-interest of the elite of Pakistan. That is how Pakistan functions. And I've been in touch with so many Pakistanis across the past 7 to 8 years, and I've realized one thing, that you see, they do not believe in this entire experiment of Pakistan. Everybody has got a dual nationality. Everybody is wanting to go out at the soonest convenience. Nobody believes in Pakistan. They're waiting for Pakistan to sink, that they can fly off and take whatever they can from the rubble that remains of the erstwhile state of Pakistan when that comes into being. Now, the thing here is, as far as Asimmunir is concerned, Asimmunir is set for 5 years plus 5 years. So he's not going anywhere unless there is a major tectonic shift in geopolitics or even local Pakistani politics, something very, very major. Otherwise, he's set for 10 years. That is what the Pakistani parliament says. 5 years tenure, it was 3 years, increased to 5 years and 5 years extension. Asim Munir is going absolutely nowhere. And what he has done is, by betraying Iran, all right, by betraying Iran, what he has done is he has made himself, for the immediate now, precious to the American establishment, because they are always looking for Mir Jafars like this in Pakistan, and Pakistan has such Mir Jafars aplenty.
True. Today it is Munir, tomorrow it will be someone else. Viewers, the concept of a unified Muslim world bound by the shared faith and purpose has always been more aspiration than reality. And this latest episode only proves that point. Islamabad's condemnation of the US strikes is not a stand of principle. It's a desperate attempt to save face in a region where its credibility is already threadbare. Pakistan, as you would know, shares a 900-kilometer border with Iran, along with deep cultural and so-called religious ties. Yet it has chosen to play both sides, courting Trump's America while issuing perfunctory statements of solidarity with Tehran. Let's see how this farce unfolds in the days to come. I thank all of you, Colonel RSN, Major Arya, Tushar Gupta, Brahma Chellaney, for joining us and putting that in context. We're taking a short break. The news are with Navita Kumar on the other side.